Oh my goodness, how can you do this? How can I do this to these beautiful Coleus? Hey everybody, it's Jim from Jim's Holiest Coleus, taking some time out in my weekend to show you really the why it's so important and necessary. My favorite phrase, the necessary evil, to trim your Coleus. If you want nice, full, thick, healthy Coleus plants, I'm not a magician. You can do this easily. Just follow along, follow my videos, follow along what I'm doing here, and there's no reason why you can't have a nice full Coleus. You have to be patient and accept the fact that you have to cut these beautiful leaves off. The sacrifice will pay for itself in a matter of days. You'll notice how fast your Coleus will respond. So here we go. In advance, let me apologize because my Yorkie Beauregard is out in the yard here, and he's a little noisy fella. So sorry if there's any interruptions. But here we go. There's some smaller ones that really haven't been trimmed yet, but when they start getting really tall and lanky like this, and you got all that undergrowth coming in, you got to cut these leaves. These were just here, and it was starting to kind of fold over. So it's necessary to do that. You see all that undergrowth? In another couple of weeks, it's going to be full, and I'll probably end up cutting these, but not for now. Just so I can get an idea of what kind of plant I have here, the coloration. So I usually leave a couple of leaves. But again, same thing here. There's a beautiful finger paint kaleidoscope, and there's an awful lot of new growth coming in underneath there. And I just trimmed a few of the larger leaves. And look at how beautiful the color is here. And it's very difficult for me to do this, as you well understand, but it really pays off in the end. So I have quite a few hanging baskets here, and I'm going to make more. I love making hanging baskets. I just started a couple of years ago, and each year I make more and more, and next year I'm going to make even more. Coleus, they're like the perfect hanging basket plant. You can't get anything more beautiful. I mean, impatiens are nice, and there's so many beautiful plants out there, but Coleus are great. And look at the size of these. And I have to really trim this. Look at the size of that. And look at all those new fellows coming in there. They want to get that big too. So, but I did trim the top, and you can see that new growth coming in. So I'm going to probably cut this also. But these are great. Hanging baskets are the best. I really recommend you get some. They're pretty short still, but again, pinch the very tops. You get 3 or 4 different Coleus, different colors, and you place them in here. There he is. So this is how you do it. Again, here is a nice hot pink. That's an electric lime Coleus, that green. And they're a little smaller. Again, some Coleus just naturally are larger leaf than others, but these just fill out. Look how beautiful that is. And it's going to more and more beautiful the more I trim it. Look at all that growth coming in. Let's see if we can get it in there. And trimming is how you accelerate that growth and how you get a nice full Coleus. And it doesn't just have to be a hanging basket. It goes for any kind of pot. And again, I have some of my Coleus trays, my singles, out getting well watered. There were some of them that were pretty dried off. They dry out pretty quick in these little pots, so you got to watch them. When you have an abundance of Coleus like this in a greenhouse with the fan going, the fan is a sort of another necessary evil, but I don't really like to use the word evil on that because it's more necessary than evil to get that oxygen pumping and to keep the pests off. But it obviously dries the Coleus out faster. So these little pots tend to dry out faster. So I get them out on the table here, survey everything when I have the time. See, there's one perfect example right there of a Coleus that needs to be trimmed. I did trim the top. You could probably use them more, but this is a pretty beautiful leaf. So they're coming in. Here's another one that I trimmed. This is a perfect example of where I would trim, right here. Right there. Let's hold on a second. There we go. Right here is where I would trim this. Because see that top piece there? It's a little too high up. And this plant, this leaf right here. Cut these two on both sides, and I would cut right here. You don't need that, and that'll get all that undergrowth boosted in. Same with this. This is jitters here. See how it's kind of leaning over now on its weight? These are crazy plants. I'll cut this right here, and it just fills in. These go crazy. They're wonderful for hanging baskets. So, and I got a lot of younger Coleus, and there's some that aren't doing well. There's a couple failures here, and we'll pick those out. Not a big deal. When you grow several hundred, you're going to lose a few. I'm pretty happy. I have a high 90% of my plants make it through healthy. A good 95, 96% of my plants. And again, I just gave them a good shot of water. They drain really well, so I don't have to worry about root rot. And you know what? In 2 days time, these are going to be even bigger and more beautiful, more colorful. So, but again, I love my hanging baskets. And let's go inside the greenhouse because I got a lot more in here. And I have to, now that I have all the trays out, I'm going to organize and rotate these around. Here's some of the rectangular arrangements. These are little rectangular pots I get at a dollar store. And these look great. Once they fill in, like I had mentioned in my earlier videos, they fill in, you don't even see any soil. I only made 3. And again, these hanging tin cups, they look nice now. They really filled in nice. I'll see how much color really shows up on the video in here. But they're beautiful. They're really neat. And I got a couple of more hanging baskets in here. And I have a whole bunch of these fellas here that I need to get to. I'm going to move these over here. And that's what I do. I move all these things. Here's some old rootings. These are going to be like Coleus trees. If you look up internet on Coleus trees, there's ways to actually make a Coleus tree where you just have a long stem, what's like a bark of a tree, and then the top is filled with foliage, and it looks like a tree. It's a Coleus tree. And that I made out of a Defiance rooting, and that's going to be a Coleus tree. These are wonderful, colorful pots, and these are perfect for like a patio table or whatever. And then there's a couple of small little fellas. Look at that. Now these clay pots, they dry out real quick. I really recommend if you have a little Coleus plant in this, to get these little bottom trays to fill with water, because these things really dry out real quick. But look at that, it's beautiful. I love that little fella. There's a couple of leaves. Yeah, these really kind of shy in color, except for that one. Again, I need to get the cup for that one. And here's another one. These need to be watered. So, take a look here. It looks great with that red. Here's another example, perfect with all this growth coming in. And that's the name of the game. I'm going to trim those two. Those two I'm going to trim. And that'll get these under guys. These are going to get these guys more nutrition and some more light. And that'll fill in really nicely. And this will be a nice, full, healthy looking Coleus. And it's important to rotate them around, move them. I move them, again in the greenhouse. I move them from rack to rack every few days or so. Move them all around, give them a different aspect of light. Some more growth coming in. And again, these all need water. Generally, you can tell when you have deep pots like this, you know, they don't really like, they don't like terribly dry soil. But if you dig down an inch or two and it still feels dry, I can tell by the weight of it, it needs dry. But if you're not really sure, you dig down, and if it feels dry, it definitely needs water. Another way you know it needs water is the droop. So this will spring right back once it gets water. Now I'm going to trim this here. Again, here's another. These are trim spots. If you want to trim your Coleus to keep it nice and full, that's your trim spot right there, the very, very top set of. There's 4 coming in here, but I don't want those to develop. I want the bottom. I want to be a short, full plant, and this goes for all your Coleus. The very, very top set of leaves. Just trim that. Keep that trimmed. Just keep monitoring it and keep it trimmed. Same with these. There's a nice fuchsia and jitters Coleus. I have my old Christmas poinsettia in here. Keep that going all year long. And here's a nice large planter arrangement, and these will explode. These are really coming in real well. They do very well back here in the back of the greenhouse. My floor didn't do too well. It was a bad decision to put stick down tiles, but so I'm gonna be getting some greenhouse, not greenhouse. I'm gonna get the artificial turf, put that down. That'll be a project for the fall. Here's another example of a finger paint in a beautiful blue hanging cup. Again, you see that growth coming in those two. I'm going to trim those because we don't really want this to grow real tall. And you see it's bending towards the light. It was over here before, so I moved it to this side. The sun is facing this way, so by tomorrow it'll straighten out. And that's how you do it. All your plants, just turn them around, move them around. They want to face the sun. Got a bunch of these tins up here, need some water, but these things hold the water pretty well. I can skip a few days. These are still pretty wet. Again, I don't overwater them. They do much better if you don't overwater them. You don't want them to dry out, but when you got a good pot like this, these hold on to water pretty well, and your Coleus will do much better. Your Coleus will do much better, you know, being a little underwatered than overwatered. You don't want to leave it 4 or 5 days, obviously. And again, it's all relative on how much shade and how hot sun, where you live. These little cups, again, they dry out real fast, so just keep an eye on those. But just keep following along. Do what I tell you. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, that's right. See, Bo agrees. He agrees. So just keep them trimmed. And if you haven't, try out designing your own hanging baskets. They're really wonderful. It's a great thing to do. It's my favorite. All of them my favorite. So I spend hours and hours in here. So, all right, everybody, have a terrific weekend, and good luck. Leave any comments. Please subscribe to my channel. We'll really appreciate it. And we'll look forward to the next video, which will be in a couple more days. All right, take care, everybody.